Oh, sorry. Wait, no, come on, down. Okay. I'm here for Sure. So if you want to come check it out. Well, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Having confirmation? Yeah.
That's for students for sessions.
That's another option.
No, maybe I'm not.
Stella Prince, director. I don't know. Maybe it was Brianna, I want to introduce you to two members of Queen Grade. Stella, Brianna, around the city for so he's able to
If you're in producing and touring, if you're in my class, on the way out, I'll be taking attendance on my phone, so just make sure that you see me before you leave. Thanks.
Matter of fact, let me echo that too. My class, before you leave out, you already know. All right, there you go.
Okay, thanks so much everybody for coming out today for Stella Prince. We're super excited to have Stella here today. I've had a chance to get to know Stella over these last couple of months, and believe me, I've been just so impressed. Stella's originally from Woodstock, New York, and is spending time between Nashville right now and also Los Angeles, and the journey, how Stella markets herself, the branding is all things we're going to go over today. And big shout out to her father who's here today, somewhere in the audience. Okay, great. I also wanted to, before we get started, first and foremost to thank Ben Sutherland from the School of Audio and Music, director. He's been fantastic with supporting programs like this. And then Anna, who actually is from the Career Center, my supervisor, direct boss, has just been fantastic too, in terms of supporting all of the different activities that are planned for not only this semester, but also next semester. And last but not least, I want to thank the Women in Audio student organization for helping out with this and co-sponsoring this. They are a fantastic organization, and if you want to learn a little bit more about them, go on the Engage app. They're looking for members, and I'll tell you, you're going to learn a whole lot about the industry. They do a lot of networking events and panels, etc. Without further ado, my good friend Ad 2, who most of you know. Ad is faculty member here, also runs Haven Studios, part of Guitars Over Guns, president of the chapter, the Grammys, here in Chicago, and just an unbelievable person. Is going to be handling the Q&A today, and Stella Prince is here. So we'll have them come on up, and have your questions ready too, because we're going to have a segment for that. Once again, let's give a round of applause for Stella. Thank you.
All right. Well, look at y'all. On time and everything. If you feel good, say good. Good. If you're feeling all right, say all right. All right. Look at that, indeed. Can y'all give it up one more time for Stella being here on campus? So, I think I need to start with a very important and very pressing question. And so I think we should start off with one of the heaviest questions in the world first. What is your favorite cereal? I think we all need to know this to solve this problem. What is the best cereal in the world? What do you think it is?
Oh my God, that's a really serious question.
Absolutely, it's the most serious.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Ooh, good answer. Good answer. I am a Cinnamon Toast Crunch person, so you know maybe Lucky Charms might be second, but I like that. That is a great answer. So let's start right here at the beginning. So I think a lot of people, when they're growing up as artists, they first experience music through the house or just on the radio or on TV. But what was one of the first voices that you heard and admired and immediately was like, I want to do something like this?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it was actually Karen Carpenter. She's probably my favorite singer of all time. She's just unbelievable, and she kind of started her career when she was around 19, 20 in the 1970s, and she's my #1 favorite. And then Judy Garland, Patsy Cline, I mean, just the classic female singers really changed my whole life.
And what about, like, did you watch some of their like documentaries as well later on? Like after you heard the voices, were you like, let me find out about the stories about these people and, you know, how they charted their journeys?
I think I can say pretty much every single fact and timeline about their lives, every detail. I've read every memoir, watched every documentary, movie, biopic. It's totally an obsession.
Love it,
Yeah.
love it, love it. And it's healthy to become like really immersed in those spaces because like learning about those artists makes you a better artist. Would you agree?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, literally after I get a rejection, what I always do is I go to the memoirs that I love more than anything and look and read through and think, oh, they went through this too. That's literally like the #1 thing that saves me more than anything.
Yeah, because rejection is a part of the journey. There are moments that aren't necessarily like going to be as you planned it. I know they say that phrase like, if you want to make God laugh, make plans. And so many times we're kind of sitting there like, all right, this is going to be the way it's going to work. And then meanwhile, it's like, nah,
No.
This is a whole other plan. So, but it's a great way to bounce back to know that
Yeah.
other people who have been successful have went through it, right?
It's exactly right. You know, it's like one of my favorite people in the world is Lucille Ball, who's not a singer, but she's an entertainer, and she's from New York, moved to LA when she was 21, and just reading through her memoir, just the rejection that she went through, it's like, if she could be rejected that brutally, then anyone can.
Yeah, man, and that's so important to know. Just real quick, hands up, has anybody dealt with rejection before? Indeed, indeed. Has anybody found a way to bounce back? Raise your hand for that too. I love that all those hands will still back up because you guys have survived everything that has been thrown at you already. So, you know, that's always a beautiful way to remind yourself that you're resilient and you have this. And so I want to go to another space and to ask some more. We're still going to stay within this, like, the early days. But there's so many different people who are able to say, like, I have been singing since the womb. This is the first day I came out. That's been what I've been doing. You know, so, but I wanted to ask, you've been songwriting since you've been young too.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I mean, I just made up songs all the time, but I didn't really start writing them down until I was around 9. And I remember very specifically, it was like the summer I was 9, and I just wanted to write songs really seriously. And so I would write the chords down and write the lyrics, and I was very methodical about it. But I started singing very seriously when I was 4. Like, I asked for voice lessons and started voice lessons at 4, which a lot of people say not to do because your voice isn't, like, developed yet.
Yeah.
But I was ready. I was like, I just want to do this now, and I don't want to wait.
That's amazing. And I've heard, I don't know if this was true, but I think I was watching another interview of yours, and you mentioned how one of the first songs that you wrote was about your dog.
That's true. Yeah, the reason I started writing songs that summer was because my dog was about to die, and I was so depressed, and that, like, emotional, like, sadness just, like, took me to writing songs more seriously than ever.
Is that something that you kind of honed in on? Like, I think that's a good trend to see, where it's like, if you start off in this way where you're writing from a space of empathy and vulnerability, like, to do that innately so young, like, is that one of the things that you're like, you know what, I just find myself writing from this space often?
Oh yeah, it's always been emotion. Like, that's the #1 thing that has always moved me to wanting to create more, has been emotion. Yeah.
I think that's like the relatability space too, because so many other people, when you hear a song, that's what's the thing that kind of keeps you there. It's one thing when you hear like some of those pop songs and it's like, okay, this is cool, it's fun, I can dance to it. But the thing that makes you a fan for somebody for life often are those spaces of vulnerability and, you know, times where people are able to kind of open up. I guess in that same regard, like, what are some songs that you used to listen to that might have been those safety nets for you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think really going back to my 3 favorite singers, like my 3 favorite songs of all time are Yesterday Once More by the Carpenters, literally like either Somewhere Over the Rainbow or The Man That Got Away from A Star Is Born by Judy Garland, and then, I mean, Sweet Dreams by Patsy Cline. Those songs just like move me to tears every time I listen to them.
Those are great songs. Those are absolutely great songs, man. And I love that. If you had to, I always feel like if you took 3 songs and you almost like you could create somebody's personality from it. Like you learn a lot about somebody from the songs that they listen to or the albums that changed their lives. So, and then also maybe to springboard to that question too, what's an album that changed your life?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, it's really, once again, I think, just like the general singers. So it's like Carpenter's Greatest Hits, Judy Garland live at Carnegie Hall. You're getting a sense of like the same singers. But outside of that, 70s music has always been the greatest. Like, I listen to 70s music every day, specifically Joni Mitchell, Judy Collins. I think Joni Mitchell's Blue is probably my favorite album, physical, like full-on album. I can just play straight through. But that's where folk music comes in, and also like soft rock, like Bread in America. I feel like they've kind of been forgotten more than other artists. Like that early 70s kind of just soft rock, I love.
Yeah, that was such a special time in music too. There was a lot of, experimentation that's going on.
Yeah.
There's also just a level of musicality and genius that was just happening. It was like so many people were, well practiced, well rehearsed, and they put in the hours and the time, and you would see it in the music that was created. And even if you just read a lot of the lyrics just by themselves, it's like poetry.
It really
So,
is.
yeah, definitely if you haven't revisited that time in music, please do. Like, that might be y'all homework today. Everybody go listen to an album from the 70s. Google any of them, just all of them. Just watch and listen. Watch performances. You'll see some amazing things happen, okay? I want to go into your creative process. So, tell us, what is your preference when it comes to creating a song? Like, take us from step 1 when you're saying, all right, I'm inspired to write or to create.
It's really from real life experiences and kind of random things that will happen. So if it's like one thing that happens to me during the day, it'll spark something. And then I'll think, oh, that's a good song. I'll remember that later. Like one of my favorite songs, probably the favorite song I've ever written, is a song called Good Luck is Hard to Find. And the first couple lyrics are, thought I'd have a car by now, but I'm still too scared to drive. Thought I'd have grown by now, but I'm still the same old size. And that kind of was just sparked because I was too afraid to drive, and it made me think, oh, maybe there's a song in that. But that's really what it is. It's just coming across kind of random lines that are about just real life.
Do you have voice notes that you take, or are you writing down and sending text messages to yourself, or?
Constant voice memos, melody. It's funny, I always have to have the melody first, and then the hook, and I understand what it's about after. But I feel like the melody has its own personality.
Yeah. So you'll have the melody, you'll build around that idea. Like, okay, this sounds like something for the verse.
Exactly.
And then I think when creating the hook, like, how do you create this centralized idea based off of the melody? Like, do you just say like, all right, this sounds like this fits right here, or? Oh,
That's
okay.
exactly what it is. Yeah, I'll have the whole melody done first, and then the lyrics come after. So it's kind of fitting in exactly what I want. Yeah, with the melody.
That's awesome. And then for the second verses, because I'm always curious to people, like, what part of the song might be like for you? You'd be like, all right, I can do this like it's nothing. But this other part is always like the tough part. Because like for me, for instance, I have the most trouble with opening lines and also the last verse. Because I'm always like, all right, how do you like start this song off? Because it has to start off in my mind however it needs to.
Yeah.
And hopefully good. Because maybe everybody's not trying to listen to it afterwards. But then, how do you close this idea and sum up all of this? But yeah.
The last verse is actually the hardest for me too. That's really funny. But no, melody writing has always been really easy. Like, I can almost do it in my sleep. Like I could come up with probably a melody in 10 minutes for a whole song. I've never had to struggle. But the lyrics is always something that I have struggled with in the past. Now it's way easier, but it takes way longer.
Do you, I know you create a lot of this stuff on your own. Do you have other people who you would lean on in different ways? And who are those people when it comes to your creative process?
There have been some writers that I just started writing with only in the past couple months that I found massive inspiration from. Liz Rose is one of them, who wrote every Taylor Swift song. She's in Nashville, and she really is like one of the greatest songwriters ever. And I just started writing with her this summer. And another one is Matresa Berg, who wrote Strawberry Wine and like all the classic 90s country songs, and has been in Nashville for like 45 years. So those two women, like just being able to like go into their house and have dinner with them and talk to them has been incredible.
How do you like maintain your sense of self and your uniqueness in your creative process when you're in a room with someone like that? Like, because sometimes I feel like we get into a room with the other artists, and it's like, all right, how do I still be myself? And or I don't get too wrapped up in what they do, and but I find myself in this process too.
It's interesting, when I've written with other writers in the past that haven't worked out well, it's because they've tended to kind of want to like write the song themselves and then all add it in. And with people like Liz, Matresa, what they do is they let me write the melody and then they'll add things. And it's almost like there's literally nothing they could do that would be bad. Like they're just adding unbelievable suggestions and thoughts and making it better, as opposed to trying to write the entire song themselves.
So like essentially just the collaborative process is learning how everybody can best contribute to the song.
Yeah.
My students would know one of the biggest things I say is the person who should have the biggest ego in this process is the song, right?
Yes.
Like when creating, it's like whatever the song requires, then that's what you should do. So if the song requires you to take a back seat in this way and somebody else is taking the driver's seat, then you do that. But it's like, what does the song need?
Exactly.
Man, all right. And then when it comes to your creating creating songs too, like how do you decide what stays and what goes? Because you're a very descriptive writer. And even when I was listening to the music, I was like, man, a lot of these lines are very poetic. There's, storylines. It's like there's all these subtle details about, where things are going. But how do you decide what stays and then what goes?
Anything that isn't authentic to me. I think anything that I have not experienced, I almost have to take a step back and like, oh, I didn't experience this. This is not, So it's really anything that, just in that way that I've not done or I've not felt inside. Like, I have to wait. That's not who I am,
So waiting until the experience comes back full circle and be like, all right, now I identify with this versus this just sounds good to be here.
Right, but it's like, not yet. I haven't experienced that yet. I have to wait.
It's good. I would like to know, because I don't know if anybody else has experienced this as well. Has anybody experienced like a creative block before? Like writer's block, or just like everything I'm making is sounding terrible or redundant, or I can't tell you how many songs I'm like, yo, this is trash. Can't nobody hear this ever, ever, ever. But like, what do you do when you're in a creative block?
And that's literally the past couple weeks. I have been really blocked because it's almost like as my career gets busier, I get distracted and I tend to focus on everything but the music. And I really only started realizing that this summer as I'm traveling all the time and going from Nashville to LA to New York to Chicago to New Jersey, like going to all these places, and it's like I'm doing everything but songwriting and thinking about everything but songwriting, and I have to post this and this isn't getting enough engagement, and what outfit am I going to wear to this? And so it's like when I get kind of downtime or when I don't have people to see or places to go, then it's like, oh, okay, I can just take a moment, be by myself, and then the songwriting comes back right away. But that is something that worries me, is the busier I get, will I lose my inspiration?
I wanna stay there for a second, right? Because there's a lot of pressure on artists right now to be everything, right? To be the content creators, even the fact that we even label art that we make as content, right? Like this is something bizarre about that. But that becomes what we do, and we get immersed in that, the engagement, and that is so much a part of the process of making it now and sustaining. But how can artists protect that space? Is what got you into this, right? Like the thing that everybody is here to see and to, witness. How do you protect that versus what society and what the industry requires or asks of people now?
It's really true that you have to do everything yourself. And the good news is that there's tools to do it. Like, if this was happening 30 years ago and you had to do everything yourself, I think it would be a nightmare without the internet. I wouldn't even know how you could book your own shows and all that stuff. Now it's so easy with the internet, social media, but you do have to do every aspect of everything, at least for the first 5 to 7 years of your career. And finding how to do all of that in a day is really difficult. And it's something that I've really had to work on, and I'm still working on. And I think what I've figured out is that if I can do songwriting first, like start my day songwriting and singing and doing all the creative stuff for the first 2-3 hours of the day, and then I can do all the business and all the other stuff. That has been the thing that has really saved me.
So like creating a schedule, carving time directly for your creativity.
Schedules is everything. I would be absolutely nowhere if I didn't make lists and schedules constantly. That's the only way I've done anything.
I swear, I live and die by my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
If it's not there, it doesn't exist. I will forget it. I don't even know how people existed without calendars beforehand.
No.
And then I guess maybe to still stay in that space of how you've grown to manage all of the things that you've done, because you've been your own booking agent, you've been your own manager, you have, the support of your parents, of course, which has been helpful, but you've been very integrated in all the aspects of your career.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you, start? And then what advice would you give to a lot of young people who have to take on those roles right now?
When I was 14, I started booking my own tours across the country. Jeez. And I've booked over 1,000 shows in the past 7 years. And the reason I started was because I realized very early on that no one would do it for me. Not in this day and age anyway. There's so much competition, there's so many artists, and there's very few agents, and there's very few managers. And the artists that they work with are established, really established, and making lots of money. So I realized that at least for the first 7 years of my career, I had to do everything myself until I was at the level where I had built everything up, so where a manager and agent could come in. Because they would never come in at the beginning. They would 20 years ago, but not now. So that's really where I started, just building everything. So starting with social media, it's something you have to do. It's really difficult, and it is a full-time job in itself. It absolutely is. But you can do what you want with it. You don't have to do, the dances if you don't want to. If you want it to just be about the music, you can. A lot of people have told me that I need to do, the get ready with me's and the outfit checks, and that's just not what I want to do, and that's just not who I am. And I want it to be about the music. And a lot have said that's not what you should do. But that's just what I want to do. And I've grown the social media a lot by doing it all myself, but you just have to figure out what works for you. You don't have to copy other people. You can do it your own way. But I will say with the booking of the shows, cold calls and cold emails have been everything and the entire reason I have done every tour. I've done, I think it's been a little bit over 40 tours, and 20 to 30, 40, even I'd say around 50 shows per tour. And each tour, is just literally typing into Google restaurants with live music in wherever, Connecticut, New York, and then breweries with live music, wineries with live music, just making a list, farmers markets with live music, bars, clubs, just anywhere that had live music. If they paid, great. If they didn't, I would still take it. And I'm still that way sometimes, if the show is good enough. I just opened for Judy Collins a couple of weeks ago. That was through a cold email. And there was no pay. And I said, I would do it, because that's amazing. I'm dying to open for Judy Collins. So it's like you can't be too picky. You know, you have to... I think the past 7 years I've pretty much said yes to almost every single opportunity. Like, there might have been like 2 that I said no to. And because if you get 7 shows, that's a tour. And you can say that's a tour. And you can create all your own graphics, all your own tour posters on Canva and wherever online, and post it. And that is your tour, and you have booked your own tour. And that is the most impressive thing. If you send that to an industry person and say, look, I just booked a whole summer tour, booked all these shows. If you can cold call one radio station in one of the places that you're performing, ask them to come in. I mean, I think it's been over 100 radio stations that I've booked in addition to the shows. Again, all cold emails, all cold phone calls. And you have to push. And I know, I feel like everyone's probably thinking, but I've written to some people and they don't write back. And that is true. They do not. Which is why I have resent an email once a week, every week. If I start on Monday and I send out 100 emails, I will resend the email every Monday until I get a response. And if it's still been like 1 month and I don't get a response, I call them.
Wow. So it's almost like, hey, if you would like this to cease, you have to answer, right?
Yeah.
I love the resilience. I love the determination.
Yeah.
And it requires that level of engagement, right? Like you have to go out for it, because sometimes I think we came into this industry or come into the business thinking, all right, I'm talented, so someone will reach out to me and book me.
You can never, ever think that. I've always thought that no one owes me anything, and they don't. They really don't owe you a thing. And you have to go out and get it yourself. And I think the number one thing is you have to decide how important it is to you. Like, starting at 14, I actually didn't go to high school and I didn't go to college. And I did all these programs remotely. So I finished really early. I finished high school and 2 years of college when I was 16. So I could do this full time and tour as much as I wanted. And because of that, I really sacrificed everything and never hung out with people my age, never did any normal stuff. And it was because this was the number one most important thing to me in the world, and it still is. But I would spend all day, every day in my room sending out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails. And that's all I did.
And like the research that you go into just like to find out these places and the consistency, like to develop that habit of saying like every day I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And with the amount of opportunities that you shot for, then all of those stuff starts to bound to come back. And I can imagine like now, you know, it feels so much easier to, you know, do that type of outreach, because it's like, hey, I got so much momentum. There's all these opportunities coming back, but it all stems from how much effort you put into at this very beginning stage when you first started.
Yeah, it's really, I remember thinking around probably 2 years ago, how long do I have to do this? Like, it's been 6.5 years. How much more do I have to do? And I still book all my own shows. I still do all my own booking and all my own social media. And just in the past 6 months, I've gotten a large part of my team together. Publicist, manager, branding, and marketing. But it's taken 7 years. And there's still so much that I do on my own. I still update all my own website, still post everything myself. So it doesn't really end, which isn't a bad thing, but you just have to decide how long you want to keep going.
Yeah. And with your, you know, level of just involvement, does it make it a lot easier for you to then hire somebody and you know what is required for them to do for your brand? Like you know your brand so intimately that when you hire somebody, you know immediately if they're able to work for you or accomplish the things that you need them to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's because when you are every role on an artist team, I mean, I think I've been obviously the booking agent, manager, social media, graphic design, even publicity. I would send out, you know, to different press and ask if they would do an article, radio promoter. So once people come in and start working, you know right away if they're gonna hustle or not. And there's some times where I still have to push and still say, oh, just wanted to check in, make sure if you did this, you know. And that's just me being like overly, you know, being a lot. But, you know, it's so important to have it all happen.
Are there ever moments where you have to be, you know, quote unquote, the bad guy, right? Like, because this industry right now, sometimes there's moments where I think there's spaces that take advantage of artists.
Yeah.
And you have to be assertive about what you want and what you need. And sometimes it can require you to not necessarily say it or do it in the tone that you normally would, but just because some people take advantage of artists. But have there been moments where you've had to be like, I can't allow this to happen?
There's two areas where that happens a lot. One is publicity. It doesn't happen now because I have such a great team, but prior, when I was maybe 16, 17, and I think that's also just being young and having people maybe take advantage. But publicity is the one field where there's so many publicists and there's so many that want to work with young independent artists, and they charge a lot of money and everyone's releasing music and it's really hard to know who to work with. And I must have tried maybe 9 or 10 publicists over 7 years, just for one single here, one single there, just because I wanted to see who was great and who wasn't. And I didn't find anyone who I thought was really great until maybe 2 years ago. And there were certainly some cases where I would pay them a lot of the money that I earned on tour for one single, and they would do nothing. Not even one piece of press, nothing. And so I learned the hard way, you know, that I had to change because it was very disappointing and very upsetting. And there would be certain times where I'd be like, you've done absolutely nothing, you know, I want my money back. And they were like, I'm not listening to you, you're like a 17-year-old girl. And they were like, no, we tried, you just aren't good enough. So that happened a couple of times. That was very upsetting. And then the other thing is that when you play shows in little clubs and little wineries, random places, there's going to be times where they're not going to want to pay you after you play. And you aren't at the level where you can go in and say, I want to be paid first. And so after you play, they'll say, oh, I'll pay you on Venmo, or I'll pay you tomorrow, or I'll send you a check. And you can't really argue that. And if they don't, there's certainly been times where they haven't. You have to really get me and you have to really fight. And that I learned the hard way, because if you don't fight, you don't get paid.
Yeah, it's a very tricky space because, you know, I often say, like, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. A lot of times in these spaces, like, people assume that as artists, they're like, hey, they'll understand, or they're young, so don't worry, I'll get it to them when I can get to them. Oh, it was a bad night for me, so I'm not gonna pay you just because we made an agreement about it. But you absolutely have to advocate for yourself, and it may feel uncomfortable at first confronting the issue that's like the elephant in the room, but you have to, because otherwise it may not happen, and you know, people will try to keep that going. And so one thing that I used to try to do after a while was, like, I started negotiating. I said, man, I need 50% up front, like, you know, half before and then the other half upon completion. Yeah. And that way it was like I was more incentivized to make sure that, hey, once it's done, but, you know, try to put something in place to protect myself from, you know, and of course contracts is always helpful.
Yeah,
so.
And that comes eventually, but at least I think for the first 5 years, when you don't have enough pull and experience, and especially if you're really young, like I was, you just won't get what you want or what you deserve, and that's really hard. I mean, especially in Nashville or LA, where I kind of split my time, there's so many artists. I think in Nashville it's like 75,000 musicians in one city. And so if you want to perform in the city of Nashville, you will not get paid. It is just a rule. They do not pay artists. You have to go at least 45 minutes to an hour outside of Nashville. breweries or wineries if you want to get paid like $50, because there's just so many artists and everyone will play for free because they want to perform. So that's really hard, and it's very difficult when there's a lot of artists that want to do this full time and they can't. Financially, it's just not possible.
Yeah, man. And so, and I to pivot a little bit, because I want to go back to this other space in your career where, like, you've had so many great things happen. There's been, for all of the grind and, you know, all of these different moments of working to get to these spaces, you've had several surreal moments. And I would love to just know for you, what was one of those, man, I need to pinch myself moments? I can't believe this is real.
Yeah. The red carpets. To me, red carpets are something that's like out of a movie. That is something that's really out of a dream or like an alternate universe. And it's something that I dreamt about and fantasized about since I was really 4 years old. And I only started doing red carpets this year. The first carpet I ever did was that moment where it was like, this doesn't feel real, this feels fake. And it was at this event called Variety Hitmakers in December in LA. And I met all these artists. I met Benson Boone and Leve and Dasha and Lana Del Rey, and I mean, it was like, and you just saw everyone. It was like this really small room and they were just all right there. And I got to say hi to them and take photos, and it was just one of those moments where it was like, wow, like, this is crazy. And it just didn't feel real.
Yeah, like those moments where the dream that you've been waiting for is finally a reality.
Yeah.
And now you're living it. And so, is there any artist who you've met where you were like, this was my hero? I don't normally fan out, but I'm about to fan out later on in the car. But is there anybody who you met where you're like freaking out on the inside?
Oh gosh, probably Lana Del Rey. I love her music, I always have. And then there's kind of a whole other carpet feel to Nashville. I did the Americana Music Awards carpet just 2 weeks ago in Nashville at the Ryman Auditorium. And the artists that were on that carpet were like totally different. It was like Margot Price and Jesse Wells and like a lot of kind of folk Americana artists. And that was really interesting to meet them because it's so different from kind of the LA pop scene. But also in LA, I think Leve is probably one of my favorite contemporary artists because she does Gen Z jazz and I do Gen Z folk. And I kind of asked her about that. I was like, how did you come up with that? She was like, it was just like what felt right to me. And I was so inspired by that's how I came up with Gen Z folk, because it's just a new genre for your own generation. And I was just madly in love with that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I would like to know, like, if you could put together, like, the best concert in the world for you, what would the lineup be? Give us, like, an opener, a support, direct support, and then give us who would be the headliner.
Oh my gosh. I think contemporary artists would probably be Casey Musgraves and Lana Del Rey, Taylor Swift. I mean, just like all the unbelievable female pop artists that are like incredible. And what I love is how many women are coming to the forefront. Like, I feel like this decade is like the decade of solo female pop artists. It's pretty incredible just to see, like on the Billboard Hot 100, so many female artists. And yeah, it's been just incredible to see.
And speaking of, I believe that you put together I'm not sure how often it happens, but an all-women showcase. Like, tell us about how that came to be, and why is it important for us to create platforms like that?
Yeah, it's actually Nashville's only all-female folk Americana showcase. There's one for country that they do, and it's sponsored by an organization called Change the Conversation, which is made up of 3 female industry executives, and it's just giving women a platform. And the thing about Nashville is that they only play, I think it's 92% male, 8% female on the radio. Country radio is 8% women. So it's one of those statistics that is like just so shocking. No one knows what to say. And so there's been a lot of initiatives recently, especially in country, where they're trying to get more female artists to be seen and break in Nashville. And it's so hard to break in Nashville as a woman because of that. So it's really needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely needed. Like, we have to continue to create as many outlets for people to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't exist, then, we're waiting for somebody to create it, then, we'll be waiting for a long time, far longer than what we need to.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask 2 more questions, and after that, we're going to open it up for you all to ask questions. And so get your questions ready, all right? Start thinking about what you're going to say. And I don't know, do they need to start forming a line or anything like that? Forming a line, is that cool? Okay, so yeah, maybe they can start forming a line over on this side if you have questions. Right next to Mr. Tom Joyce, all right? And so my first question is, how do you feel about AI in music?
I think that there's so much yearning for authenticity. And that's the one reason why I don't think AI is a threat to music. Because I think with folk music coming back, people want things that are so real and so authentic, and I don't think AI could ever do that.
Perfect, perfect. And then my last question that I have. In 10 years, what do you want the world to feel about Stella Prince?
So I've been asked so much, like, what my goal is, what success means to me. That's the #1 question, and I always am like so puzzled by it, and I never knew what to say up until really recently. And I really feel like the only thing I can say is, like, I think I just want to go as far as I can, as the universe will let me. And I'm just going to keep going and going, because I never want to stop. This is my whole world and my whole goal. So I'm just going to keep going until the universe won't let me anymore.
I love it. I love it, indeed. Well, here, we'll clap it up for this section of it. I'm going to have questions. And actually, I don't know if this is like the proper way for me to do this, but I want to do it this way. And I'm just going to do it because I think I can. When you have a question, I want you to take my seat. I want you to sit and ask the question direct. I think that's probably the best way to do it, all right? So if you have a question, come on up. Take this microphone, all right? Introduce yourself, and yeah, here you go.
Hi, I'm James Hoffman. I'm a performing arts management major. I was curious, you talked about like not getting paid for shows, but then you mentioned that now that you have a team.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you went about creating contracts. If you didn't have contracts for a while, if you started, how did that happen? And then how you do it now that you have a team.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'd say the past 7 years, it was very few contracts because the shows were so small. You know, if it's like, I think I've played every farmer's market on the East Coast and every brewery, every winery. So unless it's like a really big club and you're selling a lot of tickets and they split the percentages, usually you don't get a contract. I'm not sure if you, like, as an artist, have you kind of had contracts sent to you for shows?
I'm not a performing artist.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
interested in management and
Okay.
talent buying
Yeah.
for venues. Yeah.
So I have not really had any contracts sent the first 5 years. But I will say there have been certain agreements just in emails, just to get things in writing. It's really important to get things in writing, which I've learned very hard ways. I've learned horribly because there's been certain shows where I've come all this way, and some I've even like driven like 5-6 hours and spent tons of money and promoted it, and they would say, "What are you talking about? You're not booked here. What do you mean?" And I don't know if it was a miscommunication or someone just messed up or the booker, you know, was quitting and is no longer there. Sometimes there's a change in management and people get lost, or an overbook, you know, someone overbooks. But that is the one thing that has been really, I would say, the most upsetting, because you get all the way there and there's nothing you can do. So if you don't have it in writing, it's over. You have to go home and you get nothing. If you have an email in writing, you can show it to them and they might do something. So I'd say just getting it in writing.
Do you think that that is like, do you know other artists who that is like extremely common for as well? Yeah.
It's really, because especially as the shows, like all the bookers for some reason, just it takes them forever to get back, or they're booking 10 venues at a time. So it's so easy to get lost. And so unless you see your name on the website, that's another way to look at it, is if your name is on the website, it's a really good way to show that it's confirmed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Stella.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Vian Hazel. I'm a artist, songwriter, singer-songwriter. So you mentioned that you like cold call places. I was wondering, do you have any like negative experiences? And if you did, like, how did you like deal with that?
Yeah, I know it probably feels really daunting to like have to cold call. I mean, and it's really awkward. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's not fun. It's really difficult work. And honestly, the past 7 years of booking these shows have been so brutal. And it really is the opposite of fun. And even after all the work and you get the show, I've struggled with it not feeling rewarding because it's just so hard. Like, it's like such a fight to get every show. And it really sucks all the fun and excitement out of it, having to work so hard for it. But yeah, I will say cold emails are way easier. I haven't had any super negative experiences other than maybe like 3 times out of 1,000 shows. Because a lot of people ask, well, don't people get mad if you just keep resending the same email over and over? They won't. They just won't write back. And if they write back, it's not angry, it's they want to book you. So no response usually is a no. I'd say there's been, 4 times where I've gotten an angry response via email, never over the phone. If I call someone, they'll say, yeah, I saw your email, I'm going to get back to you next week. So I really wouldn't worry about that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hi.
I was wondering, so like typically with artists, you have a reason for why you do work other than the music, right?
Yeah.
So my question was, what kind of mark do you want to leave on the world? Once everything's said and done, once you've done everything that you can possibly do, what would you like to be remembered for?
Oh my gosh. I
I
think
know
that's
that's a huge question. Yeah.
That's the biggest question I think anyone has ever asked. Wow, you're really putting me on the spot. Oh gosh. Well, I'm not sure about 50 years from now. I'm not sure if I know that yet. I know that right now, I think if I died tomorrow, I would want people to know that you can do it all yourself and you don't have to wait around. And you can really build a career on your own and really do it yourself. And I think a lot of people think that they have to wait around for a manager, an agent, someone to help them. But you really can be independent in the sense that you can just do it all on your own and you don't have to wait.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
So, when after I recorded my first mixtape, I founded an LLC so that I could own the rights to all of my music. But I was actually supposed to drop the mixtape earlier this summer, but, you know, life be lifing. So, you know, it's kind of like, I remember you said that, that you can do things by yourself, but how can you do things by yourself when your foundation is like next to non-existent, you know?
That's a really good question. Do you have any budget at all for?
Yeah, so I actually opened an account and I started saving.
Okay.
It's just $600 right now.
Okay.
I don't really know what to do with it. I know that marketing is important, and I know that I believe you when you say that you can do it yourself, but sometimes I feel like I need all the support I can get.
Okay, I think, I hate to say this, but I think that budget is a big part of it. and it is money, and that's one of the hardest things that I realized. And I remember when I went to Nashville, there were so many girls who, whose parents had money, and their careers skyrocketed. And I remember seeing that and thinking, I don't have a chance. I mean, how am I going to do this? Because publicity costs money, touring costs money, recording. I mean, obviously, all of this does cost money. And it's really hard to figure out how to pay for all that. I think that's the number one biggest issue, is the funding of it, doing it all yourself. I think you just have to start small and decide, pick one thing that you want to spend that $600 on. There's a publicist in Nashville who I love, who I've worked with, who charges $500 for a single. So if you want to put that money towards that, I think that might be a really good idea to do as a first step. Because everything else, social media, I think if you had an unlimited budget, I would say probably digital marketing would be where you want to put your money. Social media, having a team of people that would help, with algorithm and content. But if you have $500 to $600 to start, I think building press is probably the best way to go about it. And I can, introduce you to this publicist, because you really, $500 is a very small budget, but she will help you. Like, she will actually get you stuff for that money.
I'm forever grateful, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kelly Parker. I'm a singer-songwriter, sophomore. I guess my question is, when you were first starting out and you're cold calling all of these venues and places, did you ever feel nervous about your craft? Did you ever feel like you had to kind of change your style to fit the demographic or the space that you're performing in?
I never did. I think I was very aware of what the venue wanted, and I did have to be kind of, change my set or change, each venue has different rules and guidelines. So you just have to be aware of, I think, your surroundings. So if it's a winery or if it's a brewery and you're playing outside on the patio, it's going to be a different vibe, and you're going to want to wear something different, maybe sing different songs than what you would do at a club in the city. So I think that's really the only thing I would say. But it's just, every show is going to be really different. Like, if you play farmers markets, there was one summer I turned 18 where I played 50 farmers markets all over New England, just every single farmers market on the East Coast. And I did it for a reason, because the money was really good. They give you a guarantee plus tips. And so if you're playing for 3 hours, you can make a couple $100s per show. And I think I made a couple $1,000s that year and put it all towards touring for that fall, and did a big cross-country tour, which cost a fortune. So that's another way to do it. It's if you want to stay in Chicago for the summer and play every show you can around the surrounding areas, even if it's 4 hours away, go there and drive back the same night. Keep all the money, have 0 travel costs, and then everything you've saved up you can put towards national touring.
I was also wondering, do you ever feel pigeonholed as an artist? Do you ever feel obviously you really like doing folk, Gen Z, but do you ever feel you want to try new things, but because of where you are now, you can't really branch out?
I think it's more being labeled has been really hard, because in Nashville, which is where I've been full-time for a couple of years, Nashville is so country. If you're not country, it's very hard, very, very hard. Because every major opportunity at the end of the day is country. And people say, oh, Nashville's Music City, but it's really country music city. And every single record label, publishing company, performing rights organization, it's all country. Every single one. There isn't one folk artist that has been signed to a major record label in Nashville. So that's kind of why I started going back and forth to LA. Because LA is all genres. I mean, that's what blew me away. It's really everyone. And so I think that's the hardest thing, because when people hear folk, they think, oh, that's not commercial. So having to prove to people that it is commercial, I think has been the number one hardest thing that I've had to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah Clay. It's so nice to meet you. So I wanted to ask, like, I know you said you've done many tours, and I wanted to know, how do you deal with, like, not burning out from exhaustion? Like, how do you keep up your self-care, your mental health, all that?
Yeah. That's actually probably the hardest question that anyone's asked. The truth is, I love doing this so much, and I think the thing that keeps me going is the idea of not knowing what's going to happen. Like, some huge opportunity could come tomorrow, and it could be amazing. And so I just want to keep going and going and going. And there's certainly times where I get really, not almost more burnt out, but more depressed and frustrated and think, I've been doing this since I was 4, and what's the point? And I'm still playing farmers markets, and this is ridiculous. Like, it's more like anger as opposed to being burnt out. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I feel is just sometimes I'll just wonder, why am I doing this, and I should be way further along. And the only way I calm myself down is really something good will happen. And it's not because I learn how to regulate my emotions. I'll just, suddenly something will happen. I'll be like, oh, okay, this is good. There's good things happening, and everything's fine. But there's so many times where I truly will want to quit and just feel like there's 0 point to continuing. And I just have to wait and hope that something good comes along. And it always does, but it can take, I'd say the longest I've gone has probably been 2 weeks, where I've just been so depressed and I've just wanted to quit, and felt that there's no point in doing anything in my career anymore. So it's really hard. Yeah, there's no easy answer, I feel like, because this is so hard. There's been so many shows over the past, I'd say, 6 years, where no one has clapped at the end of a song, no one has cared, no one has tipped, and I know so many people go through that. And for me, I guess for some reason, it's the one thing that kills me. It's if I go all the way and I play with all my passion, sing, and I'm sitting in the corner of a restaurant, no one's listening, it's the one thing that just gets me so down. And so after a show like that, all I can do is just cry and feel really depressed. And I just feel like sometimes there's just no way around that, because it's a really hard profession.
It is, it really is.
Yeah.
Do you feel there is a pressure to succeed in this industry?
I think once you have a team, there is. I think when you do everything yourself, you put the pressure on yourself. And I actually do better when I put pressure on myself. Just makes me work more. And I'm also really, really competitive. And so that's another thing that really keeps me going, is I'm constantly looking at other artists and seeing what they're doing. And if they're doing something unbelievable, that'll make me feel bad. And I know that, but it'll make me work harder. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was so nice to meet you.
Hi, Stella.
Hi.
My name is Lex. I am also a performing arts management major. My question for you is, you say you like to do farmers markets. When you're planning a tour in the future or in the past, did you you prioritize the ones that you were booking and getting money from? Did you also add in that time, whether between shows or a day off, and you just found a farmers market or a small winery or a brewery, and you just wanted to do it for fun? Did you primarily do that with these past or in future tours?
I've never done any shows for fun, ever. I don't think not one. it's always, those kind of shows are always work to me. It's really hard work, you know, playing 3 hours in a corner for $75. That's really hard for me. And so it's never been fun. It's been just work. But I will say there's like a certain satisfaction about completing a show, and if you sold some merch, if you get tipped, and then getting that paycheck and knowing that that is just for you singing. And I think that's the biggest reward. So I feel like very satisfied, for sure.
I would say thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Hello, my
Hi.
name is Alexis Delgado.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So the thing that always inspired me about your journey was just how you sort of did everything yourself on the management side.
Yeah.
My question to you is, what helped you stay disciplined enough to, one, just keep on going at it, but also to want to keep on learning about it?
I feel like a lot of people ask me, is it important to learn about the music business side as an artist? And my answer is always yes, but don't do it for another artist, do it for your career. And like there's a lot of, I feel like, students that will get internships in the music business side of things and help other people's careers. And I feel like the only reason I learned about music business is to apply it to my career. And I feel like that's the best way to go about it. You know, because you have to be your own agent, your own manager, you might as well learn all those things and do it for yourself and keep it for yourself. And I've never had any interest in working in the music business because I've known that I've just wanted to apply it to my own career. And I didn't want to work at a label or something because that would be other people's careers. So in the first place, the whole reason I learned how to do it all myself was for my career, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Pleasure.
Hi, I'm Dexter. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Part of my major is music composition for media, and so I'm not in with the live performance side of things, and so I was kind of wondering, you mentioned earlier that you came up with melodies very, very quickly, and you also didn't go to college just so that you can focus on your craft. And I was wondering, did you ever learn to read music, and as opposed to playing by ear, and how important is that for the context of live performance and songwriting?
It depends on what you want to do. I think if you want to be a classical or jazz musician, I think learning to read music is very important. I think if you want to be in a band, if you want to be a singer-songwriter, I don't really think it's that important. If you can read chords, I mean, I think that's all you need to know. But I will say, starting when I was 7, I started a very intensive conservatory program that I did from 7 to 14. And it was all the time in upstate New York, music theory, music history, chorus, you know, sight reading, piano. It was all very classical, very strict teachers. And there are certain parts that I love, but I hated music theory. And I think I almost saw it as like music math. Like, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to write my own songs. I liked parts of classical music, parts of studying it, but there were also parts that I didn't like. I think like the rules. I loved playing music by ear, and I still do. And I never enjoyed reading music, and I still don't. So I never enjoyed it. But I think you have to decide how far you want to go with the like technical theory aspects of music. And there's certainly many people that would say you absolutely do not need to. Like, the Beatles didn't know how to read music, you don't. So I feel like it's a personal preference. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm Alicia. So, I have this thing where I tend to compare myself to other people, and like even here, like when someone performs and then I have to go next, now I don't want to go because I'm like, oh, they did way better than me, or they sang better than me, or I don't want to do this anymore. Was there a part of your life when you felt like that? And if so, like, how did you get over it?
I always compare myself to everyone. I always have, and I probably always will. And I know it's probably not the healthiest thing to do, but it's almost more in like a competitive way. Rather than seeing someone do really well and think, oh, like they've done so good, I could never be that good. It's almost like seeing them makes me want to do better. So think, okay, they did so good, well then I want to do really good too. So it almost works as an advantage more than taking myself down. So if there's a way that you could, compare yourself and think, okay, they did great, but I'm going to do really great, or just as great as them too, and almost use it more in like a positive spin. That's really what I've learned to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Kirsten.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I had a question about kind of like finding your direction, I guess, because it's like I've been very blessed in my education to have like a lot of different directors and teachers, and they pull me in a lot of different directions. Like someone needed to do like opera or jazz or rock or whatever it is. How do you know? When you're pulled in different directions, if that's ever happened to you, how do you know that you're going the right way?
I think you have to just decide what you love and really push for what you want to do. When I was studying music growing up, I was constantly assigned classical music, classical pieces, operas, and I did not want to do that. I wanted to do Broadway, and I loved theater. I always have. And those songs, various like From Annie and Oklahoma and The Sound of Music, that was what I wanted to sing for recitals and shows. And I remember any time I was given a classical piece, I just said, I don't like this. This isn't good. I want to do this. And if you can kind of maybe do something really specific where you can flip it on its head and say, I don't want to do this, but how about this? And give a really specific song or project that you think would be way better for you. And maybe just tell them why and just say that I just think this is what I'd love to do way more. This isn't for me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anthony, and I guess my question is, as I've been learning more about the industry and the business side of things, this is a very costly thing. How did you find it? How did you make it sustainable? Because you don't get paid much, and it costs a lot for publicity, touring, and all that stuff.
My parents are very supportive, but they're not musicians, and they're also not financial gurus. So what I wanted to do is I told them very specifically, I don't think I should move out until I'm financially independent and actually have some money that I can live on. Because what I saw is the reason a lot of artists work other jobs aside from music is because they have to pay for their living expenses. And I knew that if I cut my living costs down to nothing, I could afford to do all my music and be a full-time musician. So that's really why I lived at home up until literally this summer. I lived at home until I turned 21. And it wasn't fun, it wasn't, I didn't feel independent, but I knew that it was the right choice. And a lot of people asked me about it, and they said, why are you living with your parents? And there was so much judgment constantly. But I knew that it was the right choice because I didn't want to pay $2,000 a month for rent. It didn't make sense to me. I could put that money towards touring or publicity. So if it's an option to live at home until you start making more money, this summer was the first time that I really started making a little bit more money. And that's when I realized, okay, I think maybe it's time. And I don't have to pay as much for publicity costs and touring because I have a team. But it took 7 years. So I think it's a matter of kind of figuring out when the right time is to move out, and if there's a way to save as much money as possible and put it towards your career.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you again, man. Give yourselves a round of applause for all the great questions that you asked. Thank you, Stella, for answering the questions and also your vulnerability in those spaces, like answering very candidly and giving everybody the helpful information that they can apply to their careers right now. Before we go to the next announcement, can we do this for real? Can everybody get on your feet and give her a round of applause? Because I think she did an amazing job, and we are so blessed for what you did for us. I'm going to pass this on to Tom Joyce, who's going to give an announcement about how you all can see Stella perform later on today.
Thank you so much, Ed. And again, thank you, Stella. This was amazing. And as Ed said, being vulnerable, this is what students needed to hear. And I'm so proud that they were able to hear what you had to say. So thank you again. And again, thank you to Women in Audio, the School of Audio and Music. And last but not least, tonight, we got a show tonight. Live performance. Stella is headlining tonight. And we've got Clean Break. There we go. They're playing tonight too, but it's going to be a wonderful show. It's live at 2239. That's 23rd in South Michigan. It's a $10 show. It's going to be amazing. We've got Violet Clare opening up. We've got former music student Marcus Bailey and his band. We got Clean Break, and then we got Stella Prince. Again, round of applause for Stella. And for Ed too. Unbelievable.
Can we do a group photo?
What's that?
Can we do a group photo?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
And thanks to Tom Joyce.
Everybody get on the stage? Sure, why not? Hey, everybody get on the stage. Why not? Let's go ahead and do it. Why not? Let's try it out.